All right, so now we're going to look at converting between radical and exponential notations using the following fact, the following rule down here. So we can see there's, a whole lot of arrows pointing around. So over here we have what's called exponential form. It's because the root and the exponent are actually in a little fraction. So they're in the exponent. And then we also have radical form because we can actually see the radical sign with the nth root, and then the exponent is outside of that. So it's just showing, do you see the radical? Do you see the actual root sign? That's radical form. Do you see a fraction as an exponent? That's exponential form. So if I look at this, these first ones are all pointing at the power for whichever format you have it in. So you can see it in two different ways for radical form. The exponent can be under the square root sign or it can be outside of the square root sign. Either way, it means the same thing. But you have the exponential form where the power is on top or next to the x. Now, if it's outside of the parentheses, then it's going to, be, outside and on top instead of right next to it, but it's still applied the same way as if it's right next to it. So that's the power. And on the bottom, this is what we call the index or the root. Okay, so this is the root that we're taking. So if you see it in a fraction, it's the denominator, or it's going to be indicated in front of the little radical sign. So for these ones, we're going to write the following as a radical expression. We're not actually solving that. We're just changing it from an exponential form here. I can see the fraction, so it's definitely in this form here. We're going to switch it to this form over here, to this radical form. So I have my power, I have my index. So I'm taking 13, the seventh root of 13, to the sixth power. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just rewriting it from this form into this form over here. And now for the second one, I'm going to take it from radical form. I'm going to put in exponential form. So now I have an index of 4. That's the root I'm taking. That's going to be my denominator. And I don't see any exponent, which means it's a 1. Okay, so there's always going to be something on top of the fraction. You're not just going to leave it blank. So there is a 1 there. So I'm going to have 13 to the 1 power, and it's the 4th root. Okay, so that's just converting back and forth. So now we're going to take a look at the next two, and these do say evaluate. So they do actually want us to take these roots, or if they gave us powers, they would also want us to apply that. So with this one, it's 125. I can see that's a power of 1. So that's not going to do anything, but I do need to take the cube root of that. So I can see here's my radical form. So the cube root of 125 is 5. And again, you can use a calculator for this one. You type in 125 and you can hit the little cube root button. Most calculators have that one. If it doesn't have a cube root button, it should have the radical sign with a little y here and an x underneath the radical sign. And that's the button you can choose. Any root that you're taking. So you take 125, click that button, and then tell it the root you're taking. In this case, it's 3, and hit equals. It'll tell you that it's 5 is the cube root of 125. And I know I've gone over that in previous videos. So hopefully at this point you've had some time to practice that. All right. So for this one, it's 16 to the first power. Again, not going to change anything, but the 4th root, that is going to change something. So with this one, again, you can do 16 in your calculator, type that, click that button with the X underneath and the Y, because none of the calculators are going to have the 4th root. So you click that button and then type in 4 to tell it you want the 4th root, and it's going to tell you that it's 2, because 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. All right, so that is converting between radical and exponential forms, and then also evaluating in exponential form. And we reconverted them here too, just because I think it's a little easier to see the actual radical sign there. So I hope that helped, and I will see you in the next video.